So, here's the thing. The thing for steps, that is. He is a 5/6 with an end of turn ability that gains +2 power, and if you fill his lane up, he will also engage clobber in time and clobber something that has less power than him. This is a card that I think is not far off of being good to great, but currently is far enough off of that that I don't think he's particularly worth the investment that he's asking from you. 5-drops already have some significant issues in Marvel Snap, mostly related to the power of stacking multiple plays on the final turn of the game. A 5-drop is never going to be able to be profitably played alongside something else on the final turn of the game, barring completely extreme circumstances. This is obviously not true of 4s, which are very easily discounted to 3, or 3s, which are very easily made large enough to win lanes on their own. Look at it, you. Brood and Human Torch first steps. So that leaves 5 costs like Thing in an awkward spot. If they were playing to make this card as dangerous as it could possibly be, I think what they would have done is made the mechanic not ask you to invest further. One of the things that they can do to make this card stronger is to simply say that it can destroy any card, maybe, or to do something that allows it to gain more power, perhaps. But ultimately, the problem with this card is that it is a big 5-drop that asks for further investment. And that's just a really difficult thing to deliver. A 5-drop is supposed to be able to win lanes on its own. That's what the role of them is. And if it's not going to win lanes on its own, it's going to set up you winning lanes on its own. Cards like Legion or Hellion or Sarah are in this archetype of 5s. The Thing first steps is in a shape that should make him able to succeed at 5 cost, but ultimately his numbers and power are just a little bit too weak because he's also asking you to invest in his lane to fill it up to get that final bonus. I found that this card was honestly best when played as like a 5/10 with some potential upside. That's what he's actually supposed to be, which means there's probably a lot of room if they want to buff him. And again, I don't think he's super far off. But the issues 5-drops have are fairly concretely real at this point. They are legitimately problematic and require you to warp your gameplay around them in a pretty awkward way. An example is that whenever there is a good 5-drop deck being played, let's say Ronin, right? Ronin needs an entire game plan crafted around him to prevent him from getting interacted with because he is so vulnerable to interaction, but then you can win the lane. However, you're also playing in every Ronin deck all of the 3s that are going to be lane winners. The basic thing here is that it's just hard to be a 5-drop when people can play Galacta and Gwenpool and Juggernaut and Brood and Gladiator and have about the same amount of power, but they're able to attack 2 lanes with those cards, and you just aren't. So there are things that they can do. Baseline, I think one thing that I would propose is just changing his number to say +3. I'm pretty sure you could get away with that. I also think if you wanted to really push it, what you could do is take him to a 5/5 and change his number to say +4. There is a point at which he starts to become one of the absolute biggest 5-drops, and once he gets to that size of I am a really big guy, and I am very hard to Shang-Chi or otherwise interact with profitably, then you start getting the semblance of a real card. But as is, all of the things that make 5-drops awkward in Marvel Snap, especially 5-drops that you're expecting to win a lane on their own, are even more awkward for him because he can't win a lane on his own. He needs you to help him. And that is a great flavor decision, but it does hamstring this card's competitive viability right now. He's not appalling in a deck like this. This is already a reasonable deck. I think it's probably a little bit overrated, and right now it's undergoing a bit of a metamorphosis. The more non-high Evo end of turn cards get added, the more this deck will be able to free itself from having to be a high Evo deck. I took a pretty stock list and got the thing first steps in it and quickly realized that I also wanted Kyera, which cost me Cyclops. And I think that that direction for a deck like this is actually a pretty relevant one to try to take. Unfortunately, what really makes this deck hum to me is all of the one cost cards. All of the one cost cards, and those are unfortunately tied to Evo and the energy skipping. The one cost cards are really important. Not only do they give you the ability to fill up lanes for the thing, they all have end of turn abilities, and the more bodies you have for your end of turn buff in the form of Fantasticar, the better the deck gets. So generally speaking, I don't really have a lot of faith. The Fantastic Four archetype with all of these cards, even with Invisible Woman, will be able to differentiate itself from this shell. Maybe a Doom 2099 deck will come around, but I'm not 100% positive. And as long as it's trapped in this shell, it will be trapped in what I would describe as good but not great. This is a very viable deck. You can play it. You will not be embarrassed to queue up with a deck like this. It's just not special. And it has some pretty pronounced weaknesses. And I know people are going to talk about how we have Killmonger immunity in the form of Kyera, and the fact that we have to do that is actually a weakness. The fact that we have to, just to deal with one tech card, run a whole card in our deck. I would love if that was Cyclops. I would love it so much, but it just can't be. And even beyond that, there's Shadow King. This is a deck that cares deeply about the green power it's able to add to all of its units. And Shadow King takes all of that away, and there's not much we can do about it. Even beyond that, we don't have any tech of our own. This deck is just points. It is just there to go points for points against mid-range decks. And I don't want to act like that is not an accomplishment. It is absolutely an accomplishment to be able to go point for point with some of the best decks in the metagame. It's just those other decks also get to play tech, and you have to spend your time protecting your board. And it's just a little bit never gonna be the best deck in the game is sort of where my head is at. A card I really wanted to try with Thing First Steps is Ultron, and I did pretty okay with this deck. I had above a 50% win rate. I had a positive cube rate. It wasn't like the worst deck I've ever played, but I am fairly confident that it was worse than just playing the normal version of this that I highlighted that doesn't have the thing in it and that doesn't have Ultron in it. It's probably just better to be doing the normal good version of this deck than it is to be doing what I'm doing right here. And I think that that is how a lot of Thing decks are going to be long term. My gut instinct is there's going to be a bunch of people who are just going to like throw it into a deck that's like pretty good. And then they'll be like, check out my win rate with the deck. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I went like 18-7 with the Fantasticar deck. But I'm not going to sit here and act like it's anything other than just a normal Fantasticar deck with the thing in it, right? And the same goes here. I actually was relatively impressed with Ultron, but like we can be real about this. I think that these cards, instead of the good versions of this deck, probably made it a little bit worse. You'll notice I'm also running Kate Bishop. That's just a nod to like, oh, I would like to include Kate Bishop in this deck in order to have more chances at things that could potentially fill up lanes. This is a very fine deck. I just find it very hard to believe that this is the best or the second best or the third best iteration of the Wiccan mid-range list right now. I think he is an interesting inclusion, but ultimately one that probably does not carry his own weight enough. He also works in various zoo shells, but one thing that was unfortunately very clear to me is that because the Thing First Steps asks you to fill these lanes up, it's a pretty obvious call to go fill these lanes up with one drops because that's the thing that represents the least further investment in him. There's a lot of people playing Killmonger decks. Like, I don't really have a way around this. Like, there's just a lot of people playing Killmonger decks, and it is in large part because they are trying to beat the people who are trying to experiment with this new card, because the people who are trying to experiment with this new card are looking to fill up their lanes, and the people who are playing Killmonger decks are looking to make sure that that doesn't happen. And I can't sit here and tell you that these decks don't lose to Killmonger, because this Thanos deck cares deeply about having its board full. You get Killmongered, you almost certainly are losing the game. And there are a lot of Killmongers running around right now. This is a good list. I got it from Zombies Go Nom Nom. But if you get Killmongered, you are in trouble. And this brings us back to the sort of fundamental weakness of the thing. You want your 5-drop to be hard to interact with and win lanes on his own. This guy is hard to interact with, but he's not big enough to win lanes on his own without his proc, and he requires further investment in order to get his proc and win those lanes. That's just not a recipe for a functional metagame level 5-drop right now. And they could change that. Like I said, they could just make him scale harder and then he gets way closer, right? A 513 you can't Shang-Chi is definitely worth considering. Even a 512 you can't Shang-Chi is definitely worth considering, especially with potential upside there. But this is probably not. If you want to try a different take on Zoo, this is, of course, the combo. Blink M'Baku means that you'll actually likely be seeing a decent amount of the thing here. But even in a deck this, I guess you'd call it memey, but I don't really consider this deck a meme so much as just like sort of sub-meta, but it's absolutely meta-level competitive. Even a deck like this that's like, it's kind of a gag, right? I'm doing M'Baku stuff. It's still probably better without the thing in it. It's hard to say that, right? Like, it's a hard sentence to say. And this is, of course, a list that came from Butt. He was playing this, but when I played it, all I could come up with was, I genuinely think that when we put the thing first steps into this meme deck, we made the meme deck worse. And I also think that in terms of actual Zoo, there is potentially some sort of role for this guy as like a non-Shang-Chi-able Gilgamesh type thing, but he's just a little small for that right now. And I think that like that kind of thing is a space he could exist in were he to get buffed, but right now he just isn't large enough to fill that space. I also tried a couple of just pile mishmash decks with this guy. This is one of them. I pulled it off of Untapped. And again, like, these decks aren't bad. I want to be super, super clear on that. These decks aren't bad. It's just that, like, he is invariably the worst card in these decks. And he's not even, like, that bad himself. Again, this is not a card that's, like, embarrassing to play. It's a Marvel Snap card. It's pretty good. You spent 5 energy on it, you're gonna feel like, oh, this is a pretty good guy. It's just not elite. And I think decks like this that are just full of absolutely elite cards, you notice when one of them isn't pulling their weight, and he is often not pulling his weight on this one. All right, y'all, thank you so much for watching. We're going to jump into a little bit of high Evo gameplay. Hope you enjoy it. I really love high Evo, so I'm just happy to be able to play it. I know people are mad at the excessive pay-to-win nature of the archetype, and I totally get it. But if you go check my Twitch VODs, you'll be able to see me playing all sorts of decks with the thing first steps, calling him trash, coming back to him later, doing okay with him later, accusing everyone I play of sniping. You know the deal. It's what I do. I'm trying to get better, but progress is a slow road. Until we get there, I'm KMBest. You have been phenomenal, and I will see you in the next one, and nothing can change that. I get a comment like that once a day. Like, literally once a day, someone is just like, fuck you, eat shit, you stupid asshole. Holy shit, they're the coolest person. Oh, it's RSM. Never mind. Meta players are cringe AF as an RSM gamer feels like a little bit of a wild one to me. A little wild, if you ask me. A little crazy, if you ask me. Oh. I haven't seen RSM in a hot minute. I can't say for sure that he's great, to be honest. Now they have 2 Shang locations, you see? What? 3 Shang locations. Meta players are cringe AF, he says. Meta players are cringe AF, he says, playing Shang-Chi Enchantress Loki Arishem. Meta players are cringe AF, he says, playing Shang-Chi Enchantress Loki Arishem. Stand here. Is there more Arishem on ladder? No. Arishem mostly be chilling. Arishem mostly be chilling. What are you doing with this magic shit? I don't understand. What is happening right now? The Onslaught magic deck with the stats.
Oh, snap.
This is the Onslaught Sarah deck, right?
Behold my mighty hand.
Yeah, I was gonna say, dog.
Victory.
There was Titan and juking with the Reality Stone. Fucking hell.
Wakanda forever.
Do I read Zola here? I can do that. Takes me to... They're going to go to 29. We need to go to 30. So at 8. I can then hold, or I can play this and go for a tie break. Hard read Zola. Hard read Zola for 4. Hard read Zola for 4, baby. Let's go. Let's fucking go.
Wakanda forever.
Hard read Zola for 4. Hard read Zola for 4.
Victory.
They age while ASMRing. I think people will be tickled by this. Oh wow, a Gwen.
Opponent snapped.
Oh, I mean, what does this mean? Could be anything. They ever change the bar? Entirely likely. Oh my god. I'm not going to talk about the insane play we made here, which was the world's most goated Kyera, and the fact that they could have ordered around it but didn't. Oh my fucking god.